The film is set in a world on the brink of destruction, caused by a deadly ash rain that has made women extremely rare. But fortunately, women have not completely gone extinct. On the 400th day after the pandemic, there is still one woman alive named Eva, and she lives with her partner, Will. However, their peace is interrupted when a group of soldiers arrives for a routine check. Since the world believes that women have completely vanished, Will instructs Eva to hide in a designated spot. The soldiers interrogate and search Will, but they don't find anything suspicious. However, they do come across a room filled with photos of women, each marked with numbers that appear to be dates. Despite this, the soldiers eventually leave. Afterward, Will and Eva decide to head to a place they had always dreamed of visiting before the pandemic, a waterfall. On their journey, they find the city in ruins, completely desolate, with no one in sight. The atmosphere is cold and eerie, a reminder of the tough times everyone has endured. To protect herself from being kidnapped, Eva has to disguise herself as an ordinary man. They stop at a supermarket, but as Eva is gathering supplies, a man notices her and pulls back her hood, revealing her identity. Will immediately points his gun at the man, causing him to drop to the ground in fear, and they quickly leave the supermarket. Thankfully, the man is too scared to pursue them. That night, they decide to stay at a motel. The next morning, they visit a diner for breakfast. While they are ordering, the owner becomes suspicious of Eva. Meanwhile, Will sees on the TV that the government is conducting experiments on creating artificial womb technology to repopulate the Earth. The government has also increased the reward to $2 million for anyone who finds a healthy woman in the United States. This news deeply worries Will about Eva's safety. As they eat, Eva suddenly experiences bleeding from her ear, which prompts them to leave the diner without paying. As they hurry out, a man and his child who witnessed the scene become suspicious. The man decides to pay for Will and Eva's meal, and while doing so, he finds a map with a marked route to their destination. It reveals the origin of the virus and explains why Eva decided to leave her home, leading to her current condition. Eva was with her friend Caroline when they saw a TV broadcast announcing the rare approach of Comet Cavino near Earth. Shortly after, Caroline left to go somewhere, unaware that Will had already asked for permission to stay at her house. The next day, as Will and Eva spent time together, they noticed something strange outside. A snow-like substance falling from the sky, which turned out to be ash. Soon after, Caroline returned, covered in the ash, and began to feel dizzy, eventually bleeding from her ear before losing consciousness. Will and Eva rushed her to the hospital, but Will noticed something unusual. Female patients were filling the hospital, both young and old. Realizing the severity of the situation, Will took Eva home, wearing special suits he had stolen from the hospital to prevent contamination. At home, they meticulously cleaned every corner of the house to keep the ash out and covered all doors and walls with plastic sheets to prevent Will, who still had to go outside for work, from bringing the virus into their home. However, Eva later received a call from the hospital informing her that Caroline had passed away. Eva and Will were devastated by the news, especially as the media reported that the ash rain had already claimed the lives of thousands of women worldwide. This forced them to accept the grim reality of the situation, and they spent more time together indoors, trying to ease Eva's stress. While Will continued to work outside, Eva occupied herself by joining an anonymous online chat group of 131 women who supported each other as they battled the virus. As days passed, the world became increasingly unstable. Even major countries experienced crises, leading to widespread unrest and escalating terrorist activities. The virus eventually claimed the lives of 10 million women globally. By the 220th day, only 14 women remained in Eva's chat group. The outside world was in chaos, and the isolation inside the house took its toll on Eva. She hadn't left the house for nearly 2 years and longed to see the sun again, even if it meant risking infection. However, Will, protective of his partner, forbade her from taking any risks. His overprotectiveness made Eva more emotional than usual, feeling trapped by the restrictions. By the 374th day, Eva's chat group had dwindled to just her and one other person. It was clear that the virus would eventually wipe out all women. Eva's last remaining friend knew she didn't have much time left, as the infection progressed through 4 stages, bleeding, dizziness, loss of motor control, and seizures. Ava said her goodbyes and printed a photo of her friend holding a sign with the date of her death, adding it to the wall where she had been documenting the tragic fates of the infected women. Eva now had to face the reality that she was the last surviving woman on Earth. A few days later, Eva received a call from her father, who informed her that her mother had been taken by the government for the artificial womb project. Despite his best efforts, her father couldn't stop them. Now, grieving and desperate, he sought to check on his only daughter. Will, ever protective, forbade Eva from talking further with her father, fearing the government might be monitoring their conversation. But Eva, overwhelmed with sadness, reassured her father that she was okay before Will took the phone away and scolded her for breaking their rules. Frustrated and feeling like a prisoner, Eva argued with Will. In her despair, she grabbed a gun Will had bought and pointed it at him, demanding he leave her alone. Will complied, leaving the house, but when he returned later, he couldn't find Eva anywhere. Panicking, Will searched the house and eventually found her on the rooftop, dressed in protective gear. But Eva, exhausted by her existence, removed her suit, exposing herself to the deadly ash. Will, devastated by her actions, collapsed in grief. Realizing all his efforts to protect her were now in vain, he was angry at her for being so selfish, but there was nothing he could do. He had to accept that the woman he loved, and the last woman on Earth, would soon die. Will and Ava prepared their gear and headed toward the waterfall they had always dreamed of visiting. Knowing this could be their last moment together, they spent the night by a campfire, sharing their final moments as a couple. However, the next morning, Will woke up to find Ava missing. As he exited the tent, he was confronted by the man and his son from the diner, who had followed them into the woods. They tied Will up and demanded to know where Eva was. Hearing Will's shouts, Ava, who was by the river, realized what was happening and tried to approach stealthily. However, the man and his son decided to split up to search for her, forcing Ava to flee. Ava was eventually spotted by the father, leading to a chase through the woods. Luckily, Eva managed to escape by hiding behind some rocks. But soon after, she began experiencing seizures, indicating that she was in the final stage of the virus, knowing she didn't have much time left. That night, where Will was still tied up, guarded by the father tried to explain that he wasn't a bad person. He just wanted to save his son from extinction and rebuild civilization. He was disappointed that Will wouldn't sacrifice Ava for the future of humanity. Will, however, questioned whether the father would willingly give up his own wife. The father admitted that while he wouldn't, his wife would have done so if it were the only way. Later, the father fell asleep, leaving his son to guard Will. Ava, completely vulnerable, approached the boy, who had never seen a woman before, and was mesmerized by her presence. As she drew closer, Ava stroked the boy's head to distract him before striking him with a rock. She then freed Will, but before leaving, Will decided to shoot the father, ensuring he wouldn't be a threat to them anymore. Finally, they reached the waterfall they had longed to see. The sound of the rushing water was beautiful, momentarily making them forget about the impending extinction. They spent their last day together, with Will knowing that this was Eva's choice, and all he could do was accept it. As Ava lay dying, they took a final selfie together, with Eva marking the date of her death on her hand. And with that, the film ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.